You are listening to Pivot Parenting, episode 205, Check the Box Parenting. Welcome to Pivot Parenting, the place where we recognize when your parental role needs to shift and how to do it. I'm your host and parenting expert, Heather Frazier. Okay, I have the best news ever. My launch party was so much fun. I missed everyone who couldn't make it, but those who came, so fun to see you. So fun to sign your books and hear your stories and how I Fix My Teen is helpful. One thing that I've been hearing that I didn't expect, although that's very short-sighted of me, is when your teen sees the book and it says how to fix your teen, can I just apologize to the teenagers? I promise I love you and I don't think anything's wrong with you. I actually titled that For Your Parent because sometimes parents just want their kid to change. And that's exactly the mindset that I wrote the book for. So if you think your kid needs to change, I love you. And if you're the teenager and you think you're fine, and that's rude of your parent to read a book called How I Fix My Teen, I totally get it, and I apologize. Because teenagers are so fun, and I love them. But the party was so much fun. I had free bookmarks and pens and journals and lots of free swag. And then, of course, my book to sign. The boutique has the cutest stuff right now, and a lot of people walked away with some good deals on Soul Boutique products as well. If you're not around here, I get that. My book is on Amazon. In fact, this is another really good piece of news. It is on the Amazon bestseller list for parenting books. It's number 5 out of 10. That's pretty awesome. I'm pretty pumped about it. I would love to retain that title or even grow up in, become number 2 or number 1. So if you haven't ordered How I Fix My Teen, you can do so on Amazon if you want to help my bestseller climb, or you can order it on my website. You can order it from Barnes & Noble, Walmart, on a lot of different book websites. It's there. Definitely you want to get a copy. It is getting amazing reviews. Here's one of the most recent ones. This is from a reader named Trish. She says, "This book is so honest and helpful. Must read if you have teens now or you will someday." She gave it 5 stars, verified purchase. Thank you, Trisha, for that awesome review. I really appreciate it. I have several 5-star reviews, only 5-star reviews. If you've read it and want to review it on Amazon, that would be lovely. Of course, I only want honest feedback. Also, I've been getting some more podcast reviews, which I love. The more reviews I get, the more either my book or podcast comes to the top of searches. So if you're finding value in my book or my podcast, to review it really is helpful to other folks who want help and can't find it. All right, before we get started, I have this idea of a fun summer series. I don't know if you've noticed the past couple of years, I like to mix it up for a month or 2 in the summer. And I want to do Tales of a Stay-at-Home Mom. Now, it would just be kind of like a little month or 2 blurb in the summer. And of course, stay-at-home mom means anybody who is at home on occasion with her kids. So it could be a mom who works part-time or full-time, who has her kids part-time or full-time. Very loose with that term. What I am specific about is moms who have a story to tell, who love their kids and are doing a job. Perfect, imperfect, flawed, messy, fun. So if you've ever had a dream of being a guest on a podcast, get on my email list because that's where the invites are going out. And you get on my email list by going to heatherfrazier.com, scroll to the bottom of the website. You can just put in your first name and your email. It's just me and you. Nobody else is seeing these emails. And I'm going to start emailing out invitations to come, and for 20 minutes, we can talk about your story. It doesn't have to be anything profound. It can be the story of making dinner every night and how that goes for you. And you might be thinking, that sounds fun, but I don't even know what I would say. Email me. We'll come up with something. It would be really fun. And I'm good at asking good questions, which I'm going to talk about in the episode today. I asked a mom a question today and blew her mind because she had never thought of it before, but it was really profound. So if you like being a mom, if being a mom is really hard or anything in between, I invite you to consider coming on my summer series, Tales of a Stay-at-Home Mom. It would be really fun to get to chat with you, and it will be less coachy and more like friend conversational. I want it to be real. I want to laugh, cry, share our souls, and I want you. So come connect with me and your fellow listeners. No fancy folks required. Just your wonderful everyday mom is who I'm looking for. And by wonderful, I mean also hot mess and kind and funny and short-tempered and everything in between. So to come chat with me again, get on my email list at heatherfraser.com. Let's talk about boxes to check. I hear this a lot from parents. They think that something has gone wrong because their kid isn't checking off the boxes, or that they aren't a good parent because they're not checking off the boxes, or their kid isn't checking off the boxes. And by boxes, I mean things like, my kid listens to and respects me. They don't roll their eyes. They don't lie to me. My kid gets good grades. My kid does not sneak out. I never find anything unsavory on their phone. I like their friends. I never lose my temper. I cook a good meal every night. My kids always have their curfew that they honor. Does this sound familiar? They dress in a way or present themselves in a manner of which I am proud of them. These are all different boxes that we can even just subconsciously have for our kids that we've never even seen or acknowledged consciously. It's just like, oh, my kid is such a slob, and that's really disappointing to me. And we nag them about their room because we didn't realize we had this expectation that they should be neat as a pin. I know my grandma, bless her heart, I loved my grandma. She would always get really mad at us because we would take our shoes off right in the doorway. She'd be like, I'm tripping all over these shoes. And now I live with a lot of men who have really big feet. And my son and other people in her home leave their shoes right in the doorway. And it's funny how when I was little, I'd be like, what is her problem? Just step over them. Why is this a conversation? And now sometimes I almost trip on big shoes in the doorway. And I'm like, oh, Gamma, I feel for you. I now see your point, and it's super obnoxious because I have this box that my grandma gave to me that you shouldn't leave your shoes right by the door where people walk in because you trip on them. Isn't that funny? Boxes. Sometimes our family culture comes up with boxes like the shoes. Sometimes our religion or our culture hands us boxes. There was a time not long ago where a cultural box would be that women should not wear pants. That was my grandma's era. She was a rebel, the same grandma. She rode a motorcycle and wore pants. She even made herself an apron that was like chaps, like pants, because she was such a rebel. So she could wear pants apron. She did not like checking people's boxes, and I love her for it. I think that's where I get some of my rebellious streak. So we have these boxes that we acquire in various places, our families of origin, all the ways, religious culture. We need to acknowledge the boxes because some of the boxes we like. Some of the boxes are helpful, like a cultural box in the US is that we can speak our mind and that is a constitutional right, that we can be honest. We also have cultural boxes that it's not okay to hit each other or slander one another's reputations, right? We can only say so much, and then we cross a line. These are also laws, but they're boxes of what's socially acceptable and what is not socially acceptable as well. Some of the boxes, again, are good, like parents should feed their kids. We should love our kids. We should help our kids. Those are good boxes. We just want to look at the boxes versus the principles that the boxes were created around. I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I'm a fairly positive thinker. And when I see people doing stuff that doesn't make sense to me, I traditionally think, I wonder why they think that's a good idea. I wonder what their past or history is that makes them think I should do this, what I see as a randomly bizarre thing. And it's typically for one of two reasons. Either they have wounds that's driving the action or principles that they're trying to live by. Let me give you some examples. We have a parent who is very rigid with their child's dating rules. They can't date until they're 18. Now, it could be because the parents had some really negative dating experiences. Maybe they were roofied. Maybe they had an abusive boyfriend at the age of 14. Maybe there could be some trauma, some wounds, and that's why they're parenting that way. Or it could be a value system. It could be that they have these boxes because of their religion or culture. It's not acceptable to date until you're ready to marry. I've met parents like this. They're wonderful. So we want to really tease out why we have our box. Is it because it's a principle that or a value that we find really significant? Or is it because of a wound that we have and we are living that trigger through our child? That's the first thing that we want to do. Because that will help us to see the boxes that we want to keep and the ones that we don't want to keep. Another way to see them is to look at what they're creating. A lot of parents get so hung up on their child's grades, for example, that they destroy their relationship with their child, or video games, because they think that video games are the devil, that they're going to rot their child's brain and cause them to be violent. Did you actually know there's no correlation between violent video games and behaving violently? Crazy, but true. So we want to make sure why we have our boxes and that we like the reason. If it's because of a trauma, we want to make sure, like the dating example, we want to make sure to educate our kids on safe dating. We want to make sure that they understand what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, that they can leave a date at any time, all of those kinds of things, and how to be as safe as possible. But we also want to be honest with ourselves that nobody can 100% avoid mishap or other people's behaviors or actions. So we want to educate and love and do our best to provide safety with the realistic expectation that none of us are safe 100% of the time. And that that's not a problem, because then that teaches us how to teach our kids how to overcome when things don't go according to plan. Here's what you do, and here's how you manage your emotions. That's, again, just another teaching opportunity, not one that we like, but one that is valuable for them throughout their whole life, because it doesn't just happen once. We get disappointed and things don't go our way fairly regularly. Now, just in case you don't know if you're parenting by the boxes, I want to give you some signs that maybe this could be happening for you. If you feel like it's never enough to get what you want, like you try and try, but you just don't ever feel like you've arrived, or like your teen has arrived, or your spouse, like you're running and running and running, and you're getting a lot done, or maybe not, but nothing is changing and it's never enough. Or what does change isn't satiating and it's exhausting. If you're exhausted and not in a good way, I love a day where I'm like, I got so much done today, and I fall into bed and I just am like, today I crushed it. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like, what am I missing? I ran all day and nothing to show for it. It can also feel like you're holding on so tight, like white knuckled, but to nothing that you can really see or feels tangible. It feels very much like black and white thinking. Like either my kid is good or my kid is bad, or I'm good or I'm bad. And oftentimes it's based off of what is seen, what somebody's doing or not doing. And then it also feels like getting in our own way, because we'll have these rules of happiness. Like, well, I can't be happy with my husband unless he agrees with me on my parenting. Or I can't be happy unless my kids clean the house the way that I showed them to exactly. Or I can't be happy unless they have, they're trying their best in school and getting their very best grades, and they confide in me. Then I'll feel better. And it feels very much also like putting up walls. If you have a lot of walls and people have to know exactly where to jump through those walls in order to touch your heart, you could have some pretty serious boxes that you don't feel like are getting checked. I see this a lot in religion. If you're into the Bible, you have the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and they're counting the steps you're taking on Sunday and what food you're eating and how much you're putting into the tithing box. They have a lot of things we should do and should not do. And that was what was most important to them. And so when Jesus came, he totally blew up all the rules, because guess what? God contradicts his to-dos list. In one part of the Bible, for example, it will talk about how there's one man and woman and they shall be twain. And in other parts of the Bible, there are men with multiple wives. Or God will say, don't murder, that's bad. And then he commands people to go to war for him. There actually isn't really a rule, and I would love your input on this, that God has given us that he hasn't broken. Because it's not about the boxes. It is about the principle. And the boxes can shift and the principle stays the same. And his principle is love me and then love your neighbor and yourself. And so how that can look changes based on situation and based on culture. Not the principle. We should always love God first. And then the second great commandment is to love our neighbor as ourselves. That's what Jesus taught. That stays the same. And that's actually how we want to parent. We don't want to get so stuck on me loving my child or myself or my God has to look this way. It can actually look different based on the situation. If you are paying attention to the principle of like, I want to be a good parent. I want to do my very best to love and support my kid, to show up for them. One day you're going to have a lot of time and energy and you're going to crush it if they let you. And one day, you're not going to check all your boxes because things didn't go your way. And it's the same with our kids. We have to really apply grace. Some days they're going to feel motivated to get up and go look for that part-time job or apply to colleges. And some days they're just going to want to be with their friends or lay in bed. And if we're stuck on the boxes, then we add fuel to the fire. We make what was not our favorite even bigger because now it's a problem. And it means that somebody's failing or not doing a good job. When in all reality, sometimes our child loving themselves is having a moment to themselves. It's not doing the homework and it's getting sleep. Can you see how sometimes the two align beautifully and our values and boxes line up, and sometimes they do not? And so I invite you, as your pivot for this week, is to recognize your boxes. You can even write them out. And then the ones that are there because of wounds or trauma, those are for you to work on and figure out. And the ones that are there for values and principles, make sure that they still fit and hold them loosely. Because if we really want to be our very best self, sometimes those boxes aren't going to fit. And we're going to have to let them go to be our very best parent. What do you think of that? As always, I love you. I'm here for you. Please reach out should you need anything. Email me. Get on my email list. I would love to chat with you this summer. I'm thinking like somewhere between 4 to 8 weeks or episodes of having Tales of a Stay-at-Home Mom. And that term is loose. I just think it would be really fun to get to chat with listeners and hear your stories and connect with you. And I think that other listeners would appreciate and enjoy that as well. So look forward to my emails, and I will talk to you soon.